Call the meeting to order at 6:01. Entertain a motion to accept the minutes or approve the minutes of February 13th, regular board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
5-0. Under additions and deletions, old business, under 8A, Stone Arch Bridge Restoration Project, the parapets and railings discussion. B, old business, Stone Arch Bridge Restoration Project, directive, SAB. Connie?
Stone Arch Bridge.
Okay. Oh, reserve funds, I got it. C, old business, Stone Arch Bridge Restoration Project, Select Board response to Bob's Desiervo. 4, or D, under new business, damaged mailboxes. And E, under new business, proposed grant writing coordinator. And those are the changes. And the first up, members of the public, we have folks here from Grace Cottage. You're at it.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good. Give me a second, just have some light reading material for you. So the last time you saw us was, do you remember when?
January 2020.
January.
January 23rd.
23. That was a long time ago. Yeah. So over a year ago, we came and we spoke to you about our dream of building a
Doug,
new clinic.
you need to back up because he can't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to?
No, towards a chair, you'll be all right.
Oh,
Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
sit down.
I'm too close.
Sit down.
I'm sorry. So a little over a year ago, we were here telling you about our vision, our dream to build a new building for our rural health clinic. As you probably know, our current clinic is operating out of 2 antique homes, vintage homes built in the mid-1800s that have been upgraded over the years to the extent that they could be. Those buildings are serving as the practice site for our 13 providers in our rural health clinic. So they're sharing offices. They don't have enough exam rooms to work, as efficiently as they would like to. The hallways are so narrow that one person has to back up to the wall to let another person go by. If a wheelchair needs to go down a hallway, you got to turn around and go back to make room. I mean, it's almost somewhat comical. We laugh sometimes when we see how they're able to operate the way they do. But they do it with good, kind-hearted spirit because they realize that this is the history of Grace Cottage and kind of what makes the place unique. But quaint and unique will not serve the future of our organization. We are at a point now, with the number of providers we have and the amount of space that we have to allow them to work and see patients, we can't grow beyond where we currently are today in terms of allowing people access to appointments that they would like to have with our providers. So we need to kind of move up the efficiency of the rural health clinic, create some new space that's modern, efficient, and that will allow our providers to see their patients efficiently and get their work done in a way that's professional and modern. And so when we were here last time, we showed you the floor plan for the new building, how the clinic would be laid out within the structure. We showed you the exterior of the clinic, what it's going to look like, what the building will look like once it's constructed, how it fits onto our campus, how it fits into the existing hospital space, and told you that we were going to be filing an application for a certificate of need with the Green Mountain Care Board of the state of Vermont. And in the year that we've been away, we've gone through that process. So we submitted to them our plans. We answered lots of questions. We were back and forth with them quite frequently. They took quite a long time working it through their bureaucracy, because that's not the only thing that they have to do in their busy days. But they were able to get our project reviewed, get their questions answered, look at how that project fits up with their criteria for issuing certificates of need. There are very specific criteria that need to be met in order for a CON to be granted. And ultimately, they did grant us our certificate of need. So that was a big step, a big hurdle in the lifeline of this project. We did tell you back then that we would keep you posted on activity regarding the project. So we're here tonight for a very short period of time. I'm not going to take a whole lot of time tonight. We wanted to give you an update on where we are. So with this receipt of the certificate of need, which when?
November 17th at 4:45 p.m.
I thought the brains would be. She never forgets a date. So once that CON was granted, we then moved into phase 2 of the project, which is applying for approval of our Act 250 requirement, which is something I wanted to just give you a quick update on tonight. So, and you probably know this already, but I couldn't assume that, so I brought some notes for myself. The Act 250 criteria, there are 10 specific criteria that they look at when they review a project. And they are specific standards that essentially they focus on projected impacts on air and water quality, water supplies, traffic, local schools and services, municipal costs, historical and natural resources, including scenic beauty, impacts of growth, and municipal and regional plans. So I provided you with a summary, so you wouldn't have to go and read like the whole law online. And this basically summarizes the 10 criteria and what those criteria address as far as their review is concerned. And not all of these criteria are going to be tripped by our project. So, you know, this is a comprehensive list of everything that the law includes. But obviously, building a clinic building on the campus of Grace Cottage isn't going to trip all 10 of these criteria. But there are some on here that are certainly appropriate, and they will be looking at them very closely. I can't tell you specifically what those 10 criteria will be until we actually get into the filing of our permits. But I could guess when we're looking at this, your waste disposal is probably something they're going to want to know quite a bit about. They're going to want to know about impact on streams, on wetlands, protected wetlands specifically. They're going to want to know about erosion and soil capacity. I suspect they're going to ask us questions about transportation, traffic. They're going to want to know about historical sites and historical impact, because we have old buildings that are going to be impacted by this project. We're going to have to make sure that we're not changing or demolishing a building that's, you know, a protected, you know, historical property, historical structure. We're going to want to know that we're not disturbing any of that. And they're going to want to look at any other, you know, earth resources that the project might impact. And those are kind of under criteria 9. And so we're going to be going into this process, and it's going to take probably 3 or 4 months for us to complete the arrival of and completion of the permits that we have to prepare to submit for our application. And the second document is a summary that I asked our engineers to provide for me that I could share with you. And it's a 2-page document with a staple in the corner. And if you look at the top page, which is about a half a page of text, that's a summary of what's going to be happening between now and the middle of June. as it relates to civil engineering and design work for the project, with key completion dates. And then Roman numeral 2 are permits that we need to obtain and submit along with our Act 250 application. So you can see the list of permits that are going to be required. And then the other text attached to this is a little bit more detail under each of those permits. So I'm not going to read it to you or go through it with you. It's a lot of wordage, but I think it's understandable, and I think it will make sense when you look at it. It's a pretty comprehensive review. You probably know more about Act 250 than I do. This is my first foray with a project that needs to be reviewed by the Act 250 Commission. So it'll be a learning process. But we have good architects and engineers who know how to do this stuff. They're very well prepared to help us with our application. We expect the application to be submitted around the middle or end of June. And then it'll take, I suspect, probably, what do you think, 6 months? At least 6 months for them to review all of the material that we submit as part of our application and all the permits that we will have appended to the application. So the next update that I hope to give you will be sometime in the June-July timeframe. I'll give you an update on where we are with our application. And perhaps at that point, maybe even have one of our consultants come to a meeting. If you would like us to arrange that, we can do that for you. And they can, talk a little bit more specifically about, the issues that are most pertinent with regard to the Act 250 application. Because not all of them will be pertinent to our project, but I think it's important for you to know what those issues are and how we're dealing with them, how we're addressing them. Because clearly, everything that's going to be pertinent to the application is going to have some relation to the environment of our town, right? So I think we all need to know what those potential issues might be and how we're addressing them and how we think the commission will view our plans and our addressing of those issues and those criteria as they review the application and hopefully help us reach a point where they're comfortable, we're comfortable, you'll be comfortable, we hope, at that point in time, and then we'll hopefully get their approval and then plan for a groundbreaking sometime, we hope sometime in 2025, once the ground thaws out. It will likely freeze again next winter, right?
Is there anything, Doug, that you need from us?
No, but I appreciate you asking. We just want to be as open and as transparent as we possibly can be, and we want to make sure that we are doing things in a neighborly way. And your support and your help in guiding us through this exercise is important to us. Obviously, if anybody asks you about the project, the more people we can inform, the more diplomats we have out there who can help us tell the story. But we want to make sure that there's no concerns about this. I mean, it's a pretty good sized structure, and we want it to fit in and be part of our campus, but more importantly, we want it to be part of our town and part of our community, because it is the future of keeping our hospital going. Without this building, we will not be able to continue to grow. We'll reach a point where you'll call Grace Cottage looking, to establish, yourself with a primary care provider, and we'll have to say, I'm sorry, but, our providers the practices are all closed. They're not accepting new patients, and that'll be it. And unfortunately, when that happens, like any business, right, and if you look at the economy and the way things are going right now, with inflation is driving prices up dramatically for Grace Cottage. You all know what inflation is doing to your own personal budgets. Multiply that times $40 million a year, and it's real money for us. Our costs are going up faster than we can generate, revenue to cover those costs. So we need to make sure that we can grow and continue to be a relevant organization, and we want to serve as many people that want to come to Grace Cottage for care as possible. I think it's a real important asset to Townshend and to this region. And your support in helping us keep Grace Cottage's doors open, it would be immeasurable to us. So that's what we're really asking for. To be our partners, to help us along the way, help us tell our story, and hopefully show up at the ribbon cutting to celebrate, a new milestone for Townshend.
Does anybody have any questions for Doug? I've got one, if nobody else.
I'll go after you.
The pharmacy, Messenger Valley, and the growing swamp that there is of a parking lot out there. It really needs some work.
It's kind of dirty. Yeah, it does. It's in that, and that's actually going to be addressed as part of this project. That piece of land is going to be paved as part of this clinic project. So we will address it, but I'll see if I can get
a little bit of gravel.
See if I can we'll get some gravel put down and some SurePack or something just to I wish they could do that. Does anybody know anybody who could help on Winslow Drive down to the diner?
Guy behind you.
Hey, whenever you get a chance. It doesn't have to be tomorrow, but it's getting warm and it's starting to get swampy out there.
Yeah, I'm sure all the spots will have to pop out.
One of the Airbnbers couldn't get up the hill the other day. He didn't have an all-wheel drive vehicle, unfortunately. There you go. Come to Vermont, be prepared.
Go ahead, Rob.
I had attended to a presentation that you gave last, I want to say summer or fall, about the project. It was great, super thorough, and really exciting to see. There were some community members who had questions about light pollution and noise pollution. Is that conversation still going on, or are you going to give another presentation similar and open it up, do you think?
We've not talked about another presentation. We can certainly do that. I think the most important takeaway is we've had meetings with all the abutters of our campus, and have talked with them one-on-one about their concerns, help them understand what we plan to do to make sure that we're not creating any unpleasant environmental issues for them, whether it be how we're going to. Obviously, we got to do some work with trees, and trees are going to have to come down, so we need to be very respectful of how that happens. We had one neighbor who had an issue about the lighting of the parking lot, and we addressed that issue. So we're comfortable now that we've taken care of that issue. The new building is not going to exacerbate lighting issues at all, so that's not going to be a problem. But most importantly, I think each neighbor was able to share with us their concerns, and we've noted what those concerns are. One neighbor we responded to, assuring them that we would make sure that the parking lot that will be in front of that building, it's there now, would have some additional screening, some vegetative screening, shrubs. Arborvitae, something tall that will create a screen, if you will, a visual screen, so that I don't have to look at the new building through the trees that are there now. So we're actually working on that as part of our design plan, of doing a landscape assessment and landscape design that will create as much screening as possible, so that neighbors don't feel like they're living in the hospital's backyard, if you will. But it's very important to us, and we've taken quite a bit of time to meet with folks face to face, one-on-one. We just want to know. We want to make sure that we're doing everything possible so that folks will be comfortable with the final product. And we didn't hear anything that was insurmountable. That's certainly the case. So.
Great.
Our plan is to make sure that everybody's comfortable.
That's great.
And now that the project's gaining momentum, we'll have another public presentation in June. I think it's a very good idea to keep
Okay.
the community informed as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, it was a good conversation, very reasonable opinions, and I thought you guys did a great job with
And
that.
we did it in Grafton and Wardsboro and Newfane also.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we took the show on the road
Okay.
and did multiple community presentations, so.
Okay.
And for, you know, by and large, the reception was very positive. People really, they understand what's driving the project. They certainly are supportive of Grace Cottage continuing to provide the services that it provides for our generation, for the next generation. And yeah, they were very, very appreciative that we're looking out for our jewel of a healthcare organization. It really is a special place.
And our certificate of need application was 85 pages, so if you want to know anything about the project in detail, you just need to go to the Green Mountain Care Board's website, and it's all public information, including the questions that they came back to us with and the responses that we made.
Great.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
Very, very
it's
thorough.
very
So you can
good.
actually read all of our responses.
I'll check it out.
It's interesting. If you're,
I've got one more quick question.
Sure.
I've heard the question coming around. I understand that it's this building is being created to house the current providers you have and to give them more space, and you're not going to be adding many more, if any. But do you anticipate this project?
that's not completely true.
Oh, okay.
We actually want to build capacity to add some additional providers in the
Oh,
future.
good. Okay.
So we don't want to build a building that's going to be obsolete the day we cut the ribbon.
Got it.
But we also don't want to build a building that's so big that it takes, 5 years to get to the point where there's where it's being fully utilized, right? So you gotta kind of figure out what that fine line is, because the latter just means exorbitantly more cost, and the former means you're building a building and you're not going to get any longer benefits out of it. So
That's great.
we're going to have some capacity to expand, but not 20 years of capacity.
Sure, and that answers my question. I was going to ask if you anticipate this generating more jobs for the area, and it sounds like there will be room for.
There will be room for
More
more
workers.
jobs, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, most
Right.
definitely.
We employ 200 people now, and our big problem, as you would know, is housing. We have
Absolutely.
2 people who want to come and work in our lab, and they can't find housing. So it's a problem. Our employees are coming from further and further away. And the Bennington and Brattleboro Economic Development, BDCC and Bennington Economic Development deemed this as a vital project for the community, for the area, and they've done it 2 years in a row now. So they see the economic vitality of the region as hinging on this also. So,
Yeah, that's a vital, conversation for a lot of businesses. The business I work for, just finding the workforce. Have you explored any solutions when it comes to? I mean, everybody has the same answer. It's kind of, it's a top-down kind of problem. But any creative solutions that you can think of, or?
Not that we're actively engaged in, other than to support people that are creating, housing access and capabilities. So I know a few people that are looking to acquire properties so that they can renovate them and rent the space, right? Because people who are wise and motivated know that if they have something that if they can create something that's rentable, it'll be filled almost
It's a guarantee.
almost guaranteed
Yeah.
of finding someone to rent from you. So I know a few people that are looking to acquire structures that they can then renovate without having to build from the ground up, but create some affordable apartments. We use members of our labor force that come for defined periods of time. They're agency staff, if you will. They'll come and they'll sign a 3-month contract or 6-month contract, and so they'll come to the community to work at our hospital. But it doesn't make sense for them to try and find a place to buy because they're not staying long term. So we really do need access to places that can be rented by people, on a defined basis. So if we could just get some more rental properties available, that would be very helpful to us. So
And I understand that's a rabbit hole, so I
It's a rabbit hole.
appreciate you hearing me. Yeah.
No, it really is. Like as Andrew said, you know, I'm really surprised at how many people work at Grace Cottage that live, you know, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes away. We have employees that live in Walpole. We have employees that live in, you know, obviously a lot of employees that live in Brattleboro. And they're willing to drive because they derive personal professional satisfaction working at Grace Cottage. So they make the commitment to get in the vehicle every day, back and forth. But it'd be a lot easier if they could find something closer.
Yeah.
So
It's a conversation.
it's a challenge.
We'll have that conversation.
Yeah, it's a challenge. Well, I appreciate you letting me take some of your time at the meeting tonight.
No problem.
And we'll-
John, do you have any questions about this?
No, I'll hold right now.
Okay.
Call me, John. You can call me anytime.
I'll come see you.
Come see me. You know where I live. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you all.
Okay, next on members of the public. Do we have anybody else? No? Okay. All right, correspondence. We have an email that we'll deal with later. Warrants, Katie, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to pay the warrants. Number 1, payroll in the amount of $13,176.43. Number 2, payroll taxes in the amount of $5,971.02. Number 3, general fund in the amount of $400.67. Number 4, general fund in the amount of $6,604.74. Number 5, highway in the amount of $4,028.54. Number 6, highway equipment in the amount of $4,853.73. Number 7, gazebo fund in the amount of $6,272 for a total of $41,307.13.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any conversation? Do you have any input? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
5-0. Okay, that takes care of that one. Next one is highway.
Not really much to report, been pretty quiet, no major weather. Connie and I are making good headway on the FEMA stuff. I think we're down to, 1 or 2 projects left. So hopefully that'll be wrapped up soon. And get some of our money back, that'd be good.
How about the mud?
So far so good, but after today and the rest of the week, we'll see. I don't know, it's hit or miss. I've been talking to other towns. Some people seem to think it's gonna be a light mud year, but you never know.
Yeah. Okay.
Tell you better in May. Yeah.
Okay, treasurer's report. Municipal investment fund, $1,318,113.57. And the checkbook is at $30,000. The CD accounts are posted there for the different cemetery commission, whatever that one is, it just says Town of Townsend. The reappraisal fund, another one that's just Town of Townsend, and then the fire department's vehicle replacement. Actual fund balance, or true balance, is $882,576.43. Counter money is hang on a second here, $684.53. All right, so we're on to, I had Connie put in your packets a notice for Act 250 filing application. Apparently the Windmill Hill Pinnacle Association is notifying us that they're working on a project. And then, what was the other one, Connie? Oh, the DB fiber thing. We're gonna have to, DB fiber. We're gonna have to appoint somebody to that. I think Andy Snelling is there now, and we should have a second one, but that's gonna come after town meeting. So why don't we start off with the beefier part of the projects, the discussion over the parapets and railings on the Stone Arch Bridge. Stone. Alright, so Connie, why don't you do the kind of the overview of what we're looking at?
So after we signed the contract with Standing Stone LLC, we, the select board signed that contract knowing that the issue of parapets and railings is still to be figured out. So we have to keep that moving along in order to make sure that we're making a decision in time for the work being done on the bridge. So we, at the time, LLC, Brian Post had said he was having a hard time finding somebody that will engage with him on this. He has found an engineer. He has also contacted V-Trans to see what the requirements are. And so he put out this email on last Thursday giving us an update on that. And so I tried to do the bullet points on the for you all as to what he is saying and what we are going to have to discuss and decide. I don't exactly know the timeline. I think that also depends on when the project starts. I think it was supposed to have started mid-May.
May 15th is
yeah, but it may be putting the permitting process may push it back to June 1st or hopefully not much beyond June 1st. But in this email, at the end of the email, he does state that it really makes sense to do it while he still has the wooden structure up around the stones. So I think that's the background. So these questions really do need to be worked on sooner rather than later by the select board.
Yeah, we pretty much, I think, have to handle the majority of them tonight because this is the last meeting of this board. Number 2, about not having crash-tested materials. That one is a big one, especially in liability insurance. As far as liability insurance goes, somebody crashes through that thing. Granted, there shouldn't be moving more than 5 miles an hour across it anyways, but if there is some kind of crash and these railings aren't tested, or if somebody's walking, I guess there wouldn't be much with walking. There'd be some kind of a barrier there. Let's see. Number 3 kind of gets into what the liability insurance would be with or without. Do we design a custom rail from an engineer? That's number 4.
Or from Brian.
Or from Brian. Oh, that's right. Do we have an engineer do it, or do we trust that Brian has the skills to do the, which I'm not saying he doesn't. And historical replica railings. Okay. You can see what the points are that we need to deal with. Do we go with an engineer knowing we've already approved only $20,000 for rails, unit rails and parapets? Connie? Wasn't it rails and parapets?
His design was, yeah, how to attach it.
Yeah, but we approved $20,000
For parapets, yes.
for that purpose.
For that purpose.
Where does he say the amount that he thinks that's going to be? Because one of your bullet points was that it's going to be more than the 20,000.
So that was in January, or yeah, it was in January. He put together, and I can get you a copy of this. He put together a memorandum of understanding.
Right, it was like $20,000 to $60,000.
70 to 90.
70 to 90. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, as far as town meeting
I think it's
goes,
because of
we
the
can't,
steel. There was several.
we can't change an appropriation from town meeting. Or it needs at least 30 days to do another article, and it's next week. So we either forego all of the standards that are listed there, go with something that Brian puts together and pay for it with what we get allocated, and whatever else comes up, we're gonna have to find a way to squeeze it out of the existing budget. Or we go for the full freight and squeeze it out of the existing budget. So those are the two biggest questions we have. Thoughts?
I would assume going with Brian, making the design would be more affordable option.
Yeah,
And-
it's
and
not
I-
like this guy went into business yesterday.
Right, he's very skilled at what he does. He had lots of examples of work he's done, and I'm pretty sure I'd be happy with him doing it. Jeremy, how much faith would you put in his ability to give us something that is crash tested?
The design that he's proposed, I think, would be more than sufficient to withstand anything that, you know, there's only that type of span, there's only so much you can do with it to make that structure strong.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it, you know, because it's a free stone, you know, dry laid stone structure. The way he has it designed is that each railing on either side is tied to each other under the deck. In my opinion, that's probably the best way to go.
Okay.
That way it's not supported to the stones themselves, because if that's the case, you know, somebody hits it, you could ruin the whole bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie, have any thoughts? No? Okay. All right. So I guess that's the question. Do we go with what Brian is proposing? Or do we go the other way with an unknown cost factor?
Sherwood?
Yep.
If I can make a suggestion, if we can't, if the select board does not feel comfortable making decisions tonight, you know, based on either not having enough information or wanting to review anything, I can supply any documents that the select board may need. We may also just want to talk about a course of action, like what are the next steps? Like one next step I would recommend is that we contact VLCT, I think it's VLCT, about, which is our insurance provider, about this issue of V-Trans and crash testing. I think we should have a conversation with V-Trans and not just take Brian's conversation in an email, but there may be some next steps that we want to lay out for the select board to be able to.
Well, obviously, that's not gonna get done until after town meeting, so. But you're right, in order to have the maximum information to make the decision, VLCT, V-Trans, and whoever else can be put on the list to question this. Any thoughts?
Nope.
Okay.
If it's a matter of keeping it on schedule, I don't want to make any crazy suggestions, but we could do a meeting next week.
I don't think we'll have the information.
I mean, one thing we should find out is what Brian thinks the timeline is, because we're also dealing with a permitting issue that could potentially push the project back 2 weeks. I mean, so I could get from Brian what he thinks the timeline is on actually making a decision about the design. Because he may say it's, you know, the end of March. Or he may say April, you know.
If there's no objection from the other members of the board, I propose we just table this until we get that information. I think we'd be better off that way.
It'd be helpful to know what information that what we're working on though.
Yeah.
I would say the insurance,
The
talking to the insurance company.
Okay. So table it? Yes?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Table. Okay. Next one is reserve account. The reserve funds for the bridge are in of course, under Elaine's control. And in order to move them to make payments for it at some point, Elaine's going to have to be directed to do that. We have a directive here, but it kind of sounds like that this money isn't going to be coming forward until after town meeting, or do we
Right.
need it before?
So the purpose of the directive is to basically have the select board authorize Elaine to take a directive from the Historical Society. So when the Historical Society decides they need the money, they don't have to wait for a select board meeting and warrant signing. They can get the money when they need it. So the purpose of the directive is for the select board to say to the treasurer, whenever Helen or Lee Petty say they need the money, you'll transfer the money.
Okay.
That was the purpose of the directive, if the select board's okay with that.
I'd make a motion to sign the directive to have Elaine issue the money to the Historical Society as they need it.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Is there any further input, question? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Okay.
5-0. Here's a signature page coming around to everyone. For that, let's just clear that. Now the last one about the bridge comes down to an email we received. And that person didn't show up, but we're going to give them a response. This project has been underway for 5 years. In this packet of material are 5 years worth of annual reports where the town allowed this project, paid for this project, voted funds for it. Charlie, how often has the Historical Society dealt with this project in the last 5 years? Has it been a pretty much consistent thing?
You mean at our meetings?
Yep.
Every meeting,
Every meeting.
once a month.
Are those meetings open for people that want to come in? Town
Yeah,
residents?
they're the second Monday of the month, at 5 o'clock down at the glass studio.
Okay. Over the last 5 years?
Last, more than that.
Okay.
Well, yeah, for this project.
Yeah. All right. And in my hand right here, I went through all of our meeting notes as a board. Going back to the last 3 years, where I could see that we met and we spoke about this or had some kind of input or updates, public meetings that were warned. And this particular individual, and I'll just say his name, Mr. Desiervo, was at a couple of those meetings and had nothing to say. Now, at the last minute, he wants us to put a hold on the contract for this project that we've already signed, that we have liability for, because he doesn't like the way it's worded. From my perspective, and I'll let each of you speak to what your perspective is no, it's moving forward and that's the way it's going to be. He should have taken the opportunity in the last 5 years to make his presence known, and he didn't do that. Anybody else have anything?
I agree with you. I think that the people that we have working on this have been very thorough, and I know that there's been oversight by the federal government, so I tend to agree with you.
Well, if you figure the taxpayers themselves are into this for $280,000 right now. The federal government gave a grant for $221,000. The project comes in around $800,000. So the Historical Society, on their own, went out and raised the balance of that money. And to sit there and say, okay, we're gonna suspend that, is ridiculous. So, anything else need to be said?
I can't be mean to him, so.
Okay, I know your opinion. All right, so that's the response. Next up, there was property damage from a plowing incident where a couple of mailboxes got broken. We're going to get that taken care of. And the more important end of the meeting thing here was Katie asked me, what was it, a week ago?
Yeah.
What I thought about a grant and research writing. Somebody that could coordinate and could actually do that. And she's actually volunteered to do it from her work on the grant for the gazebo. That's still in progress, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what she's proposing is 15 hours a week when she's got a project, at casual labor rate to work on that project. And that doesn't mean she's gonna work every grant that comes, or every one that's cited. We're gonna have to work out I don't know whether it could be called a grant team or a grant writing group that just decides what's reasonable and what isn't.
And what we need.
And what we need, yeah.
Yeah.
So, guess we're soliciting any impact or any comment on that. What do you think?
I think if someone wants to take it upon themselves to raise money, find money for the town, and get paid at a casual labor rate while doing it, and it's the cost of that usually is, I'm guessing, a lot more.
A lot more than that.
A lot more than the casual labor rate
So,
for grant writing, yes.
okay. What was that?
That was Helen, she's not on mute.
Oh. Any other comment? Rob, you all set with that? You got any question?
With your proposal here, you have 15 hours a week at the casual labor rate of $17.54, projected at $263.10 per week. That's $13,681.20 in a 12-month period. Are you capping yourself at the 15? Or is
yeah.
that like?
How I think it would function is that we would decide on a project or something that we wanted me to work towards. You know, whether it was something for this building or some improvement of the commons, something like that. And I would work up to 15 hours a week on that. I think that it would be malleable as there's some research component, there's some writing component, there's things like that. So it's not 15 hours a week for 52 weeks. It would ebb and flow depending on what I was working on and how.
So there might be an 8-hour week and there might be a 17-hour week?
Right, which is why we wanted to have it in here that I report to the select board. My hours would be clearly noted, and the project would be decided on ahead of time.
My one thought would we as a board be smart to, if we got into this, to maybe do a 3-month cycle or a 6-month cycle and not a 12-month cycle to get started and would that bother you? That way you could
Yeah.
feel it out for 3 months and see if you needed to morph your hours or whatever you needed to do to get the optimum productivity out of it.
I think I'd be open to that. I put in as a 12-month period, mostly because, like the one that I'm working on right now, the application came out in January, and I started working on it, compiling information, working with Connie, working with Lee Petty. It's not due till March 31st, which I felt like that was a long period of time. I thought I couldn't do this sooner than that, except that in a lot of it, when you're compiling the information, you're depending on a contractor over here, information coming from there, and that doesn't all happen in a day and can take, you know, several weeks to compile it. So for any one project, it can take 3 months, sometimes it can take 5 months just to get all of the pieces moving together, timelines, all of the things you need to prove to them, permits if you need them to go into it. So I think it was hard for me to say, I could do this in 3 months or I could do this in 6 months because of when they release when they start the opening of the grant and when it closes, and because of all the pieces that go into it. But that's also why I put into my proposal that I would come to select board meetings and either give monthly or bi-monthly updates on what's going on, where I'm at in the process. And I thought that would give everyone enough information to say, stop here, or okay, we've done this one, now let's move on to this next one.
Any other thoughts? Go ahead.
The training component, I think, is a really important part of this. And so I see that you are additionally proposing working with the highway department. I assume that's in a training capacity as well as assistance?
Yes.
Okay.
Does this mean you'll be helping with my grants as well?
Yes, yes. Yeah,
And to train you to be able to do them.
Right.
yeah, yes,
Because a lot of that's new to me, so.
right. And I've been looking at the V-Trans grants and just trying to see what I would be getting into and what that would take.
There's all, I think I wrote it to you in the message about this, but there's also VLCT grants
Yep.
that you can do, or grant writing classes that you can actually do from home on the computer. Wind Regional also has a grant writing seminar, I think. And Connie, wasn't the one you went to through?
VLCT, I thought.
I thought it was the Brattleboro,
Oh, maybe.
the credit corporations,
Right.
whatever it was. So there's enough resources around here, so if you need them, they're available. So, and where we don't have to send somebody to California, all expenses paid to learn how to do it.
So if I made a motion for 6 months, paying your training for the $26.50, then paying you at the casual labor rate for the 15 hours a week, 6 months, with you reporting to us like every month or whatever you feel needed, would that be enough time for you to get the wheels in motion on it?
I think so. Yeah.
Well, I think 6 months would definitely see this gazebo grant through, but I'm not sure 6 months would work for some other grants. But I guess you could always come back.
I'm saying if we go 6 months, we can obviously extend it
yeah.
later on.
Yeah.
But at 6 months, we could figure out
Where we're at.
whether Katie wants to keep rolling with it, or
Yeah.
whether it's working, or whether we need to modify it a little bit, or whatever we need to do.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That works for me.
I would make a motion to accept Catherine Merrow's proposal for grant research and grant application writing for 6 months, starting on March 5th with the town meeting, and it being $17.54 an hour, 15 hours a week proposed for the 6 months in the training part too.
So trial period.
Well, evaluation.
There you go.
And then reporting to us every month, once a month, as needed, whatever you would like to have.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Further comments?
I just wanted to say that in speaking with other highway foremen, this is pretty much what the norm is now. A lot of towns do have these positions that she's bringing up.
And I've spoken to some other towns, and we had learned from when we went to the VLCT meeting, and I've spoken to some people from the town of Wyndham, and this is definitely the direction they're going in, and they've already received some grants and are reaping the benefits of that. So I think it's
There's a lot out there that can be had. It's just a matter of sitting down and doing the research.
I think it's a lot about interpreting the information and applying it correctly, and it can open some doors for the town, which is what I'm hoping to do.
Absolutely.
It will also take some of the excess burden off of Connie that especially come to these FEMA grants stuff. With two of you working on it, if we get nailed, well, not when, or yeah, if it's when, we get nailed with another storm that causes some damage and we have to go through this FEMA stuff again. All right, before we call the vote, I'll give people that are here. Laura, you got anything about this? No. Really? Okay. Sir, I don't know what your name is.
Nick.
Nick?
I think that's awesome. Thanks for volunteering to do that. That's really awesome.
John, what do you think?
It's in the right direction, yes. Yep.
All right, all those in favor of the motion made by Rob, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So what we would have 4 and 1 abstention.
Good job, Katie.
Thank you.
We're lucky to have her.
Thank you.
All right, so before I kind of ask for an adjournment, I wanted to say that this is our last meeting. I appreciate the work that all of you have done. We've been very productive, even though some of it seems like at a snail's pace. We've gotten a lot of it done. And for those that wish to stay and get elected, welcome back. The ones that wish to leave, at least one of them is put in 2 years, which is what I like to see, instead of revolving 1 a year. After the first year, as you all know, you don't have a good grasp of what's going on. Mm-hmm. But you certainly get a stomach full of it after the second. So I appreciate your input. Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate the guidance I've gotten from all of you guys. I've learned so much, not only about the town, but how it works. And it's been a great opportunity to get my hands on and get to know you guys.
Kelly, I'll say it again, thanks for filling the hole.
Thanks, Drew.
Needed somebody with some experience, especially the last few months. All right. Anything else for the good of the cause? All right. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Bye.